Name's John Climo, and we're at Wharepapa South here, and we're milking 530 odd cows on 200 hectares or so. And before this system, we just had a mannequin tank sump, and we had a Briggs and Stratton pump in it. We used to pump out of there straight onto the pasture, and that worked all right. But it had to go every day, and of course, you know what happens, it breaks down, or the power's off, or the freaking blocks, or doesn't pump properly. You've got to shift it, and you get busy, and you've got time, and so it's labour intensive, where this system here is such a breeze. Always on your mind, because it was pumping straight effluent. It wasn't separated or nothing, and you had to be really careful with the weather, where you put it and how you put it, and it was just a constant worry. It was just a constant worry, and workers were always on the job. You're always having to shift it, always have to check it. Is it working? Is it working properly? Have I left it long enough? Does it need shifting before we start milking, at the end of milking? So it was just a constant worry. So we had to do something. So it's not a big cost. It's not even worth talking about at the end of the day. But you don't know all these things. You see everyone else's, you talk to them, but you think, well, you know, I don't know. Everyone's got a different story. But after having it, yeah, it's not even worth fucking worrying about. I was having these worries about how full I was going to get, and how do I empty it? What if it gets too full, and where are going to put it if it's too full, and all this sort of crap. But what we try to do here is we try to fill the pond up through the spring, winter and spring, so we can irrigate in the summer when it gets dry, like it is this season. And we use the water to irrigate, and we find that the grass grows twice as good as it used to with the water on there now than it used to with the effluent on there. It's just a breeze. It's just honestly just a breeze. The only way to do it is separate the solids and the stones and the sand and the bloody plastic. Anything that goes down the drain can go in the weeping wall. It can separate out. Leaves the pond clean. Easy on the pumps, and you can just empty the weeping wall when you're ready, onto crop paddocks or onto behind the cows, or whenever you're fucking wanting, and just a breeze. So the trick is to put it on the crop paddocks. You know, as we work the farm up, we put it all on the crops, work it into the soil, and for sure, it's getting the fertiliser back on the whole farm rather than just back on the effluent spread area. And that works well. Like, we spend one day to empty half the pond, half the weeping wall on the furthest away paddocks, and to fertilise those, because those are the paddocks need it the most. So, and you can pump a lot further because it's pumping only water, not full of bloody stinking sand and shit and all the rest of it. So it makes sense. You've got to be compliant these days, so unless you get it sorted properly, it's going to be always a worry. Now they can fly over the helicopters and call up here and do all their thing. It doesn't bother me at all. We wanted to put a feed pad in, and we wanted to put a bigger cow shed on at some stage, and we were thinking about buying the neighbours as well, and with a bigger shed to milk on both lots. And of course, that's why we've gone to a big pond and two big weeping wall bunkers here, just to cater for the future, because it's a lot easier doing it when you're doing it, rather than having to go back and add to it. So we looked at it. We looked around at a few different farms and what they were doing and their systems, and we were lucky here with the gravity feed from the cow shed. It worked out perfectly with the design we went with, and I'm more than impressed. I reckon it's bloody the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah, the trick is to look around at other systems to see how they are working and what they think of them. But at the end of the day, it's more expensive to do it wrong to start with than do it right. Make sure that you sort of overdo it slightly, so you cater for the future infrastructure, and what works for the farm. And the cost is really the last thing you look at, because at the end of the day, I would have been annoyed that if I hadn't done what I'd done and ended up with less, because it's so hard to fix and it costs so much to start again. The clean water is the answer. You've got to get rid of the sand and the stones and all the cow shit, because it's so hard to pump and it's so hard to put on without putting it on too thick. Where our system was working and I thought, oh yeah, it's great and it's all good and I don't want to spend any money and what the heck, but as it turns out, it was no good at all. And now you notice that it's a big change, because life is so easy and you don't have to be doing it all day long. You don't have to do about it. You can forget about it for frickin', you know, for 100 days or more, and then just start the pump up, and within a week it's back down to frickin', you can leave it again. What a breeze. We had a couple of different contractors we could have chose to build this blooming thing here, but why I went with Matt and you guys was because of his wealth of knowledge. When he came out here and got him to come out and have a look at the site and say, well, we want, because it was all just grass when he got here, and I said, well, that's what we want, you know what I mean, how are we going to do it? And he was really good, nothing was a problem. Came out, looked at it and said, well, what I would do was I'd be putting that there and pond there and the weeping wall here, and I'd go this way, and he'd drop a bit of a plan, and we talked about it and said, well, no, I want this and I want that, but he says, oh, you can have that, but you can't have this, and it worked out that as we were working through it, it was starting to make sense what he was talking about, and what he was talking about was what I was thinking of, and I was just trying to get what I was thinking of into something that looked like it was always there and looked like that it was supposed to be there, and it works. As the years go on, you try to improve things every year, and this was one of the things that we tried to get done as soon as possible, which is, I'm really pleased. I tell you, I'm really pleased because it's such a breeze. It's such a breeze. It turned effluent to a bloody headache into a breeze. I never used one before, so I didn't know how it was going to work, but I can't believe how quickly you can empty the thing and how long it takes to fill it. So I was thinking that I'd have to empty it all the time, you know what I mean? You need a tractor there because it gets too full, but as it turns out, I think about 2.5 or 3 hours, and you can get rid of all that. A lot of the time with contractors, you get people who think that they know more than you, and they don't want to interact with you and don't want you there because you don't know what they're doing. But they were quite good, you know what I mean? Happy to talk to you, happy to work with you, happy to answer any questions, and good to watch. Professionals are always good to watch, you know, because it just happens, and they always seem to be happy for some reason. So yeah, I was impressed.